Did you know that tasks swell to the amount of time you have to complete them? Is productivity a pain point in your small business? Your productivity must be mastered in order to reach your exponential greatness. I'll explain more in 4 seconds. Hey YouTube, it's your girl, The Real Teddy Talks, educating you daily on entrepreneurship, your hustle and your grind, and building generational wealth. If you're enjoying my content, please subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell so everyone else knows you like it too. I'm trying to reach my exponential greatness just like you. There's a scientific principle that explains the phenomena of gas filling the space of whatever container it's in. It's called Brownian Motion, also known as pedesis. There's a ton of complex math and calculations and fractions and formulas that go along with the explanation of Brownian motion. But in short, it's the movement of particles in a space in liquid or gas form that completely fills the area of the space it's in. Whether it's a small space or a large space, it finds its way to fill it. You may ask what this has to do with being an entrepreneur and productivity. I'm glad you asked. Let me explain. Let's imagine that the gas I just mentioned is your daily tasks, or weekly tasks, or monthly tasks. And the container that the gas is in is the deadline or the time you've allotted to finish this project. Think back to junior high, middle school, high school, college, your current work projects. Isn't it interesting to find out that how much ever time you have to complete a project is about how much time it takes? You get to college and you have your syllabus in front of you and you see a list of all the projects you have to complete and when they're due. And me, I'm always like, I'm going to get a head start on that one. I'm going to start working on that one. But magically, come the due date, I'm usually finishing that project the night before it's due. And in very rare circumstances, I finish the Sunday the week before it's due. And that's very rare. And that is because of Brownian motion. I take as long as I have to finish it. And have you also noticed that when you have a shorter timeline to finish a task, something pops up. Your boss calls you at 3 and says, I need this by 5. Miraculously, it only takes you 2 hours to finish it versus 2 weeks. And usually when you're given a shorter deadline, the product that you produce or the project you complete is just as good, if not better, than a project you would have finished had you had more time to do it. It's like a miracle. Crazy, huh? Well, actually not. You increased your productivity output to match the timeline. Let me let you in on a little secret to success. If you set your workday around the arbitrary 8 or 9 hours that we've been given for the last, 5 decades, your day will be filled with 8 hours of work. But if you reinvent your workday to like 4 or 5 hours, I guarantee you can complete the same amount of work more efficiently. Unless you're a factory worker working on some product line that you have no control over the pace of that thing, you can put less time in your day and get more work done. Especially for those of you that are benefiting from the telework of COVID. Again, unless you're answering the phone, working in some call center where your day is your day, if you have some flexibility in your day, you need to start using it. You don't need more time in your day. You need to reinvent your workday and be more productive. This is where atomic habits are going to come in. There are 2 things you need to ensure success when shrinking the amount of time in your work schedule. The first is set realistic timelines. We all know how long it takes us to do something, so set a realistic timeline. If it takes you an hour to check your email, then set a timer and remove all distractions. If you start checking your email at 8 o'clock, you need to set a timer for it to go off at 9. If you're at home, you need to make sure that you've turned off all of your phone bings and dings and tings and bells. Your computer, you don't want to know when an email popped in because you'll immediately click on it. And make sure that everyone knows not to disturb you. Make sure your kids aren't knocking on the door. No one's coming in to interrupt you or ask you anything. The house phone is out of the room. You have no distractions. And on that timeline, you need to be looking at that clock like it's a race. You need to say, I got to finish my email. I got to finish my email by 9 o'clock. You are the master of your fate and you're the master of your time. Make sure you are finishing your tasks in the time that you've allotted so that you can move on to other things and work those in the same manner. Do this throughout your workday with other tasks. Only take phone calls during a certain time. Only write proposals during a certain time. Only invoice during a certain time. And give yourself that strict amount of time and stick with it. Do this for just 1 week and see how it opens up your day. I'm sure your family or your friends would much rather have you away for a set 4 or 5 hours than for the whole day. The second way to ensure success when shrinking and reinventing your workday is to create solid commitments that bump up against that deadline time. So if you said, I'm only going to work 5 hours today, and you're going to solidify that by scheduling an appointment, a lunch date, being involved in an intramural sport, joining a book club, putting your kids in some sport, and you have to be there at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. It needs to be something that you get pure joy out of, something you wouldn't want to miss unless the world was falling apart. And if you do that, you'll make sure you finish your tasks and get ready for that thing that's following after. In America especially, but I'm sure all over the world, we've created a crisis of urgent and important hysteria. Everything is urgent and important, but we all know the facts. If everything is urgent and important, then nothing is urgent and important. I lived overseas for 3 years on a beautiful island in the middle of the South Pacific. It was the most picturesque location I've ever lived in, but where I worked suffered from the hysteria. Everything was urgent and everything was important. So when I left that job, I left sad, but so glad at the same time that I didn't have to deal with that schedule and that hysteria anymore. Be present in the moment. Take a look at your schedule and see where you can shorten some time. Decide how long tasks really take. Reinvent your workday. This is the Real Teddy Talks, signing off.
Listen.